Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on March 27th, 2015. And you know, it's kind of weird. I feel that this episode was almost a full step back of where they've been recently, and that's just for certain areas. For one, the whole aspect of Drew Galloway versus the BDC at this point. The one thing I do like, and I mean if it's done correctly, it kind of felt almost forced this week, but I do like that they finally got some guys around Drew Galloway. Where they actually messed up with was the whole aspect behind, the announcers never gave names to these guys. Usually you get some kind of name, whether it would be the particular wrestler announcing who they were, or the announcers themselves already know who they are. But this week you didn't get that at all this week. All you got from Drew Galloway was the whole aspect of he's calling this group the Rising. Now hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more from them in the upcoming weeks and everything, but I don't. This week was kind of a step back on that one, just on the aspect that you didn't really get a full introduction to these guys and who they are, or what their purpose was behind joining Drew Galloway's group. In this case, I mean, you would assume it would be for the same reasons why Galloway is why he's going after the BDC in this case and point in time. The other aspect I did not really like, many weeks ago it was announced that Samoa Joe was going to be gone from the company. No explanation given why he was not within the BDC anymore. At least I didn't hear one. If I missed it or something, but no explanation at all why Samoa Joe was gone. He's just gone. There you go. It would have been a nice little added touch, like, because of this, and this, or this reason, they kick Samoa Joe out. He's gone. Not gonna be with the group anymore. Nope, he's just gone. Not even mentioned. So that was definitely a down point to TNA Impact this week. Since I went with a down point, I should go with a positive one in here. There was some positive to the show. I liked the aspect behind Tara Terrell and Awesome Kong this week. Their storyline was never really finished from the triple threat, because Tara Terrell pinned Gail Kim. She's not proven herself against Awesome Kong at this point, so that storyline has to continue, and I'm glad they decided to go that route. I liked how they did it this week with Awesome Kong, basically, well, maybe not goading her out there, but forcing Tara Terrell to come out to try to save Brooke from going through the table, or continuing to get beat down by Awesome Kong, and then she herself get put through the table. I liked how they went about that and continuing on with that storyline. So that should lead into something interesting into the the further weeks to come on the knockout side. So at least they got something decent and interesting there to watch through in the terms of a storyline. We'll see how they continue on with it here in the very near future. But like I said, for the most part, this week's was I felt was a weak Impact, and that is kind of sad to say, because they did have a relatively decent one last week, and it's sad to see them come up with somewhat of a weak show. Though it will be interesting to see how they play off all the aspects of who will be the next #1 contender for the World Heavyweight title after they've done another match with Bobby Lashley and Kurt Angle. And while I go off and say too soon to do their rematch between Lashley and Angle, they should save this one for a few weeks instead of doing it just literally a week after the match had already happened. You had the match, and now you've had 1 week, and now you're having, just 2 weeks later, you're getting the match again. They should have saved this for a little bit while and see if they could build up other areas of storyline between the two of them into another match instead of just kind of going off into the rematch. So it almost leads you to expect something between the two of them for next week's show, whether it be a DQ finish or something in that sense. So we'll see where they go with it, but like I said, in the terms of storyline, I feel like it was almost too soon for them to go for the rematch for Bobby Lashley and Kurt Angle. But the other aspect is it'll be interesting to see who they decide to go with for the next contender after Lashley, because they went out there and they did an okay segment basically showing who the next contenders would be, which would be either EC3, Austin Aries, obviously of course with the Feast or Fired he would be in there, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, Mr. Anderson inside there. You know, you have choices and you have everybody kind of gunning for Kurt Angle. Decent segment, led to a pretty good six-man tag between Tyrus, EC3, and Eric Young versus Bobby Roode and Austin Aries and Mr. Anderson in there. So you got a relatively decent tag match out of that. Why they're doing another, like they're billing it as one last time with Eric Young and Bobby Roode, I don't know why they're really doing it. Honestly, the storyline should have ended last week with a last man standing match. That's the perfect way to end the storyline. Now they're getting one more match out of it, and that's another area where I've never really cared for TNA. They try too soon to try to get that one more match out of a program instead of ending the program and then you can come back to it 6 months later or something like that, and maybe you could get something fresh out of it. So I mean, we'll see how that match turns out. I'm sure it will be a relatively good match to watch, but again, they should have ended this particular program with Bobby Roode and Eric Young at this point in time, and then maybe come back down the road with it somewhere else. So this leads to pretty much the main event of the night, which was the whole Jeff Hardy versus James Storm. Relatively decent cage match between the two of them. I really didn't like the whole promo setup that they did. They could have literally gone with the aspect that they were going to go with Lethal Lockdown-esque type rulings where you can't really get outside of the 6 sides of steel or even climb into it. That could have been one way of them just getting rid of the Revolution at that point, but no, they had you had a relatively okay, but I really didn't really like where they were going with the whole everyone attempting to attack Jeff Hardy in every way, shape, or form, and then Hardy just fends them off, and basically, you know, he had to fend them off throughout the whole night, and then he has to face James Storm to try to pull out the victory there. Of course, they're going to have him go over in this case because the show was billed as Hardy's revenge, so you'd figure Jeff Hardy going over in this case. I didn't really care all too much how they did it. I didn't think it was all that great. It wasn't horrible. They just could have done a better job here. And that's pretty much kind of the aspect around the whole show. I mean, outside of a few areas I said were relatively good, they could have done better. And you know they could have done better. And it's kind of sad that they did not go that route. They went with the route that they did. So hopefully next week's show will be much more fun to watch. We'll see how that one goes. And that's my review this week for TNA Impact Wrestling. And I thank you guys for watching.